Hi folks, welcome to Good Grilling with Grill Grober. I'm your host, Grill Grober. So today's smoke is going to be Brisket 101. This is the brisket that I got here for New Year's Eve. It's from Simpson's Market in West Knoxville. As you can see, they've been around since 1888, currently the fifth generation of Simpsons that are running that fantastic butcher shop. And this is the same butcher that Wells Station Barbecue from Knoxville uses for all the meats that they smoke. Shout out to Marcus. So I know it's going to be good as long as I do it right. So as you can see, this brisket, 14.38 pounds. It actually overlaps the cutting board that I have here. And the brisket is broken down into two sections. This meatier part here is typically referred to as the point. While it's the meatier side of the brisket, it's also the fattiest part. And if I lift this up, you'll see that the whole bottom side of the brisket is layered with fat, and that's okay to leave that on there. That will enhance the flavor, the taste of the meat once it's done. But the fat on top, you can see I've already cut quite a bit of it off. Necessary to get you a good paring knife, good small, short paring knife. This one comes from Brewin knives, and a smaller one is best to use here. And I'm going to finish slicing that off of the point here. The other part of the brisket, the other section here, is called the flat. You can see that it's called the flat because it's flatter than the point, obviously. Not as much fat there, but I'll go ahead and I'll be cutting that bit of excess fat off of it as well before I throw it on the smoker. Note that I'm doing this before I even start my coals and my fire in general, because you want to get it to room temperature before you throw it on the smoker. The rubs I'm going to be using, one is from my friends in Waxahachie, Texas. The Meat Church folks down there, I'm using the Gospel All-Purpose Rub. I'm going to use some historic Lynchburg barbecue rub with real Tennessee whiskey, and then a little salt and pepper. So as soon as I get the rest of this fat cut off the top of the brisket, I'll show you what it looks like all rubbed down, and then we'll throw it on the smoker. By the way, you can expect that you're going to be cooking your brisket on average about 1 hour per pound. So this big boy is going to take probably at least 14 hours. Hi folks. So back here at the Froggy Top Grill, and I've just tossed my brisket onto the Oklahoma Joe side box smoker I'm using here. Notice that I've already cut off the fat on the top to my satisfaction and rubbed it down and inserted the Govee wireless Bluetooth temperature probe. It's been really reliable for me. You can keep up with the temperature of the meat on your phone. So go ahead and shut her down. Official smoke time commencement is 10:20 a.m. So it's going to be a long day and an early morning. So one of the things that I like about this side box smoker is it's got two ambient temperature gauges here. So I have noted, well, you should note here that I have the point side closest to the fire, and I have the brisket over here to the away from the firebox as much as possible. Ideally, you want to keep that ambient temperature somewhere around 200 to 220. Anytime it drops below 200, I'm going to add some more fuel in my firebox here. I'm using Kingsford briquettes with some mesquite and also some oak from this tree that fell down in my backyard back in the spring during a severe Tennessee thunderstorm. So one more thing I'll point out here, these smokers typically, like this one, will have a vent or a damper at the firebox and also over here at the smokestack. Note that I have both of those open. The more open they are, the hotter the ambient temperature is going to be. If it starts getting too hot, then I can adjust the ambient temperature by closing up the vents. So It's about 10:20 a.m. Eastern time, so I can expect that it's going to be a long day and an early morning. Again, about 14 hours for this bad boy. Okay, guys, we're about halfway through the smoke, 7 hours. You can see I'm at 145. We'll take a quick peek. Looking good. See some bark developing. You see that moisture that's coming up on top of the brisket there? That's going to be an issue when we get to about 160. That's what's called the stall. And essentially, it's a matter of the collagen and the connective tissues are starting to break down. There's also some moisture that, as you saw there on the top, that's starting to evaporate. That'll slow the cook down. There's a couple of remedies for that. My favorite is called the Texas Crutch. And so what we're going to do when we get to 160 is we're going to wrap it in some pink food grade butcher paper. What that will do is allow to keep some of the moisture in and also maintain a crispier bark. Some people like to use aluminum foil, but then you're going to steam it. And if you steam it, then you're not going to have that crusty bark that I like. The other reason for doing this Texas Crutch is it will speed up the cooking time. So in other words, once we hit that stall at about 160, I'm going to wrap it in that butcher paper, wrap it very tight. You want to spritz it with a little bit of water so it won't stick to the bark. And then again, that will protect the bark from being crispy, and also it will still allow some smoke to penetrate. Just make sure when you wrap it, you want to wrap it as tight as possible so you eliminate any kind of air in between the paper and the brisket. So I'll show you what that looks like, but it's getting ready to get dark here. And so I just wanted to kind of show you that before I wrap it. Again, it's going to be a little bit until we get to that desired temperature of about 160 for the wrap. All right, so I'll check in and I'll show you what that wrap looks like coming up. All right, guys, so we finally hit the stall. We're 160. And so what you can see here is I've wrapped up our brisket. I put some twine on there, keep it nice and tucked and snug. And I actually put the fat side on the top. Okay, so fat side up, and I'm not sure if you can see this, probably not, but I put a drip pan under there as well. The drip pan is there to hold in the juices, and so at this point, I kind of call this the prom stage, because if you made it this far to the dance, you probably made it to third base beforehand, and you're probably already had your sandwiches and stuff, and you'll probably make it home. So at this point, you just have to smoke for probably another 3 hours, and she should be good. At that point, I'm going to put it in our little barbecue blankie here. This is an insulated blankie. It's got foil on the inside. Zip that up. This big boy will probably have to rest for at least 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours, and then it should be good to go. I'm going to transport this to Virginia tomorrow, and so I will show you how I'm going to do that coming right up. All right, folks, so you may realize that it's daylight here at Froggy Top Grill. No, I didn't smoke it for over 24 hours. After I reached that ambient temperature, not the ambient temperature, but the once the meat hit the stall that I talked about in the last segment, wrapped it, the temps were dropping below, well, not below 40, right around 40 degrees. So I could just leave it on the smoker. The ambient temperature was dropping below 200. I'd already used 2 bags of charcoal, the 16 ounces, so 32 pounds of charcoal used on this smoke, and a pretty good size chunk of an oak tree. So put it in the oven this morning about 5 o'clock at 225 degrees. And so as you can see, I'm almost to the ideal temp of about 200. As soon as I get to 200, I'm going to take it off, put it back into the barbecue blankie in the box from Simpson's, and head back to Virginia. It's about a 2.5 hour drive, and that's about the time that it needs to rest. So, as always, propane is good for heating your house. Charcoal and downed oak trees in your backyard are good for smoking. I'll send the final pic once we slice into it. Cheers, mates.